Thank you. Well, yes, my talk today is about ataraxia. Oops, I brought an extra bit. Here, this is the Māori language best describes this. The word wairua, wai means water, usually means water, but sometimes can mean flow. Rua means two. So it acknowledges the fact that we're made of two flows of energy, our ego and our soul. The Māori word for soul is wairua, and the Māori name for the spiritual realm is wairua. So that acknowledges that they're one and the same thing. Here, the Māori word for our ego is our sense of identity, our self, who we are, what our name is, our job, our everything, our identity. Māori word for this is henengaro, which means the lost girl, literally. And the funny thing about this is this is where all our negative feelings are, and we can't see out. When we're in a cloud of negativity, we can't put ourselves here very easily because we can't see out. The ego, when we're in this realm, we feel isolated, even amongst a crowd of people, whereas when we're in the realm of our soul, we feel connected. We feel scarcity and fear here because our ego, its job is to protect us, to allow us to survive. When we're in the realm of the soul, we feel abundance. So that sounds very simple. There's in the study of psychology, only studies this half. If you look in a psychology textbook, look down the index for the word soul or spirit, you won't find anything that's not considered scientific. So if we want to heal trauma, psychology helps us learn to live with it. But in my opinion, if we want to heal, we've got to grow our spiritual intelligence. Einstein put it best. He said, a problem can never be solved with the same level of thinking at which it was created. He had high spiritual intelligence, so he was looking at problems in the earthly realm, and he would go ride his bike or play his violin or whatever to find the amazing stuff that he found. So that's become my goal. I've been also, I go on Mind Valley, which is a place online where you can access lots of coaching. There's a guy on there called Ken Wilber. This is his theory. Enlightenment, imagine that's at the top. And what he says is there's 1 million different paths to enlightenment. There's probably 800 billion different paths because we've all got a different path to follow. The main thing is that it's got to be intentional. We've got to search and we've got to start to climb. So that's what I'm hoping to inspire you to do today. He also said if the person that's climbing up this side can't see, this has a completely different view to the person climbing up the other side. So we all tend to think our own view is the only one and everyone else is wrong and they're not going to make it. He says it's important to realise that everyone's on their own path, everyone has a different view, and everyone can make it to the top from anywhere on that mountain. So the basis of the culture wars were that feeling that it's just human nature to have that we are right and everyone else is wrong. It describes levels. There's levels. He did a super map of all the religions, theories, philosophies in the world and categorised them all, and he organised them, and he said basically this general theme, the general pattern was levels. So at this level you see God or consciousness or whatever you perceive that to be as him or he in the third person. As you get higher up the mountain you start talking to him, so it's you and me, and as you get to the top suddenly you realise you're one with God or the universe or whatever that means to you. So that's Ken Wilber. You can go on Mind Valley if you are interested. Also on Mind Valley there's a lady called Sonia Choquette, and she's got a very cute idea that if you want to identify with your soul, you've got to name your ego as a dog. That's her. So if the idea is you pick a breed of dog that you identify with and think of your ego as a dog, and then because your ego is not you, but it's yours. Like a dog is not you, but it's yours. You love it, it's there to protect you, but you've got to keep it in place and you've got to be the boss. So this is really truly my dog. I really did have a black dog. And his name really was Trigger. So that's my name for my ego, is Trigger. I can go, oh, there you go, Trigger, good boy, sit down. That should say name it and train it. But yeah, that was Trigger, and he was a little bit overprotective, just like my ego. This idea comes from Tony Robbins. He believes that you can change your beliefs. Because I was looking at that picture of the mountain and I was thinking, right, how can I get to the enlightenment at the top? I want to feel more of that in my life. I want to be able to flick between. I know we all flick between the two realms randomly, but I want to be able to go 1, 2, 3, I'm in. Because that's why you might have noticed some of my tiny talks are good and some are not so good, because sometimes I'm able to access my wairua and other times I'm not able to, and I crash and burn. Sometimes I'm standing here wondering if anyone can see I've got no knickers on, or that doesn't help. So I knew I needed to know how to get into that realm in the instant. And suddenly an answer bubbled up from within me, is that I do know how, I can do it. Because when about 10 years ago I lived in Rurawai, a little rural town, I was on the volunteer fire brigade, and the main road goes through, so we'd get lots of fatal car accidents and no ambulance for miles. So we'd be first there. But we did get lots of really good training from the ambulance officer, and he'd come and do days with us. And one day I asked him for advice. I said, how do you manage panic? And he said, I can tell you what I do and it works for me. So he said, as you're hopping down out of the fire truck, everything's there before you. Give yourself 3 seconds, 1001, 1002, 1003. And in that time, you're going inside. He said, you're in the training room, all your training's coming back to you. After 3 seconds, the shutters come up, and there you go. You're unstoppable, invincible, and you won't panic. And he was absolutely right. And we all found that just brilliant. So suddenly the other day, I just realized I do know how to get into that state. And so I decided I was going to change my belief. This is my new belief. This is Tony Robbins' method. If you want to change a belief, you draw a table. You put your new belief that you want on the tabletop, and all you've got to do is find 4 solid legs of supporting evidence, write them down, stick that on the wall where you see it quite a lot, and before you know it, your new belief will be absorbed into your psychology. So I decided I would like to believe that I can experience enlightenment right now. So my 4 legs on my table, my first leg was the fact that I've done it already as a firefighter. My second leg is that I've learnt how to find trigger. I can do that pretty quickly. The third leg is a breathing trick that I've learned called box breathing, where you breathe in, hold, out, hold, and you do that and you try and slow it right down to about 3 breaths a minute. You can do that pretty quickly. And the fourth leg is what my partner calls a wairua hikoi. I take myself in my imagination up as if I'm sitting on a cloud looking down. Once I really did do a parachute jump, and so I experienced this feeling for real. So I just put myself back in that perspective, look down at the hustle and bustle of everybody, look how irrelevant and unimportant everything seems, look at my own problems, sort them all out, and come back into my body. I can do that very, very quickly. So that's my new belief now, and I would like to inspire you all to give this a go for yourself, find your own path up the mountain, find what works for you, and inspire you to heal whatever trauma you have by developing your spiritual intelligence. Thank you.